It's helped me to open up a lot more. It's also allowed me to meet a lot of people, which is awesome. Because even though sometimes I get uncomfortable, it allows me that opportunity to just try, even if my mental state goes down.
Welcome to Chorus Voices, the podcast brought to you by Chorus, a fresh approach to community service. Settle in, listen in, and enjoy the voices who bring you reflections, musings, and stories from our community.
Hello everybody and welcome to this edition of Chorus Voices. I'm CEO Dan Minchin.
And I'm Head of Brand and People, Lou Forster.
So what we heard before the intro music there, Lou, was a flashback to Lex, a Chorus customer, and Lex's journey since then is the focus of today.
Sure is, and that was 2 years ago, hard to believe.
Yeah. And you could just hear where Lex was at from that grab in a really difficult place.
Yeah, and it's worth going back and listening to that other episode. And it's incredible to hear the journey that's happened in the last 2 years and, you know, where Lex is at right now.
So Judith has been back and had another conversation with Lex, and we'd like to share the highlights of that today.
When we last talked, you were just sort of on the edge of just kind
Walking
of
to my bedroom.
taking a lead. Like you'd kind of gone from, you know, staying at home, and I remember Anne-Marie saying, you know, you did little steps to go to the roundabout and come back, and how that was a really, you know, big deal. And then I remember I was invited to your house, which was amazing. We had a really good chat for a couple of hours.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
I got to show you the skateboard
Yes.
and everything.
Yes, you did. And the Alice in Wonderland.
I've still got that.
We talked about, you know, you had this dream of being a fashion designer. That's pretty well where we left it. Like you had this dream. And Anne-Marie's kind of told me that things have changed a little bit, that you've taken some more steps.
Well, I've taken quite a big steps. I've gotten into the fashion design and merchandising Cert 4 course.
Wow, have you?
Since last time, yep. This is my second year, I believe, since I've started.
Wow, that's incredible. You must be, I mean, Anne-Marie, you must be so proud that Lex has taken those steps, and Lex, you must be really proud too. I mean, that was like your dream, wasn't it?
It is.
So how did you get to that point? How did you get to do that?
Well, it's mostly all thanks to Anne-Marie, I have to say.
No, I think you need to give yourself credit.
No, you did a lot of the research and everything. I had absolutely no idea where to start, but you automatically went, right, this is where we need to go to. And you started researching everything.
I assisted you with the different places and the best where to go, but you're the one who needs to take the credit for actually being able to take those steps and do the course and be actively doing what you're doing. And it's just really good listening to you now while you're doing the course, setting bigger goals, and you know, our conversations now is you're setting longer term goals, and you know, you've got all these ideas in your head of what you want to design, and because the course includes the business planning side of things. So Lex's conversations now in the car is telling me all these ideas which Lex has for when Lex has finished the course of the musical theatre, and what different things, and Lex is talking about all different designs and what designs Lex wants to do, and Lex's mind's just buzzing now with ideas for the future. Once upon a time it was our weekly sessions, we're working on how we're going to get out of the house and get to art group, or get to youth group, or get down to Mandra.
So what changed, Lex? How did you go from, you know, it was hard just to come to the youth group to now you're just studying fashion design?
Well, I hit quite a few emotional and mental enlightenments, I guess you could say. I got better at that point and decided, you know what, I'm not going to succeed or be able to do anything if I don't leave the house. I've got to get out of the house. And getting to that point may not have been easy, but it was very fulfilling finally being able to just leave and get there. The first thing we did was get me accustomed to the TAFE area. Like I went there a few times before I actually started the course and got to interact with my teachers, and they were all very, very nice. They were all understanding, and it was just felt like I could go to them for help, which was very helpful in getting me to actually go to the TAFE.
It's the first step, is it? The physical, just getting there is the hard
And then
first step.
The second step is getting emotionally and mentally stable. So like once you get there, physically you can just adjust to it emotionally and mentally. So like when you're there, you can just take a breath, look around and just think, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. And being able to interact with my teachers is like a moment thinking, they're not as bad as I thought they were going to be. And that just knocks it down. Every time I mentally tick off something that could have gone wrong or was going to go wrong in my head, it's like it knocks down my anxiety to make me feel calmer and calmer and calmer.
Do you have like a strategy before you go? Like, do you like imagine how it could go and this is how you're going to react, or?
I've gotten better with my sleep schedule. For one thing, start a sleep schedule of when you should go to bed and when you should wake up. Like it takes an hour to get from my home to the TAFE, and I guess the strategy is just talking to Anne-Marie and then putting my headphones on and listening to music, because music to me is very calming. So doing that while also having something to read is a good way to keep calm all the way to the point. So distractions. That is the first step. Distractions for on the way.
So tell me, just give me an example of what it's like when you're in your class. Like when you rock up and.
It depends on my class. Be it one class be it my sewing class or my colour theory class. For my sewing class, when I get there, it's just set up my sewing station, get everything ready, be it the thread in the sewing machine, the bobbin in the bobbin case, and then into the sewing machine. Get the fabrics out, or just set out my fabric with my patterns to cut it out, depending what it is we're doing that day. Our teacher demonstrates each step by step of what we're doing. She does that part, we go and do it, or if we're a bit stuck with it, we can go back and ask, and she can even show us again if we need the extra help or extra visual, and she allows us to record. So that helps a lot, because then I can review it again and again.
Sounds very practical. What you're doing. It is. Yeah, and you like that, just being.
I like hands-on.
Hands-on.
I'm more of a kinetic and visual learner.
Yeah, and that must help with just the anxiety too, just having that practical, being able
to do something.
Yeah.
Because I get distracted very easily because I've got to be doing something.
You've got some beautiful clothes you brought along too. We were just looking at them before. How would you describe the dress and the jacket you've got?
Oh, the dress was the first thing that we got to make, and I am so happy with how it turned out. It's something like it's not a knit, but it's a woven, and it's nice light blue and it's very summery.
So the skull, when you got a skull jacket, I seem to remember some skulls on some of your drawings we looked at. So you like the skulls.
This was the second thing we got to make, and I just absolutely adored the pattern, even though I made it a bit harder on myself because it's a stretchy material and it's the second garment I've ever made. So
it's quite advanced to do stretchy material, isn't it? I remember doing that when I did sewing. Yeah, it puckers up when you sew it.
Or you stretch it too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gave me bits of trouble, but I got there in the end. Just seeing the roses and the skull and the rib cage and the raven just made me happy.
So why does that make you happy?
Because I don't know, I just found it very aesthetically pleasing. Like, I could ask a person that likes psychedelic things, why do you like that monstrosity of colour combinations? And they could just tell me they like the bright colours. And I just have to go, okay then.
Are you still doing all your drawing?
I don't draw as much as I used to. Nowadays I'm mostly focused on other pursuits.
You've gone on a journey and you're in a different place now, aren't you? And do you think your drawings have changed to reflect that? There was the monster one, remember that one? The monster.
Oh, that was from my...
The one he couldn't eat because he had his lips sewn up. There was Alice and there was
that was in my
skateboard as well.
That was in my old book. This is my 2016 to currently book.
It's kind of, it looks a little bit different.
I was very into pastel, which explains the blue dress.
Yeah.
Since majority of my wardrobe is black, white, and a combination of lots of cool colours.
Yeah.
But on the darker monochromatics of the spectrum, because it's 2020, the Roaring 20s.
Excellent. I love the Roaring 20s.
I'm a bit obsessed with that currently, which is why I did a zombie rubber hose cartoon of the 20s.
Right. Look at that. Yeah.
I'm a bit obsessed with their clothes now.
So you said you want to do clothes for musicals.
I do. Because I like listening to music, of course, and I like looking at the clothes that they make, and you just got to think, how hard must they work to make it appear like those are not ripaways? Because when with theatre work, they've got to be really quick when they do costume changes, so they've got to be able to get in and out of the clothes, and sometimes the clothes look really complicated, but that's only on the outside. The removal process would be very easily, like Velcro, or easy to untie laces, because they've got to be able to either get back into it or get out of it very quickly.
So you like that sort of almost like a mechanical, how you're gonna approach it like a problem in a way. So you've got to solve it, you've got to get it on, you've got to get it off. Is that what you like?
And you've also got to think about easy movement and the like.
Yeah.
Without restricting.
Yeah. What about just musicals? Do you like musicals?
I like listening to musicals.
Yeah, I do too.
And just looking at them, and then you look at the backstage of it, and it looks all very complicated. It's like, wow, these people are stuck together for close quarters. How have none of them murdered each other? So they must be able to get along somehow.
It's a great fantasy one.
I just like thinking of how does all this happen? Because they've got to go the tour around to places, so they're all stuck in together for long periods of time, and you've got to think, how do they not lose anything? How do they get all this done? How do they not destroy anything? And if they do, how do they repair them quickly and seamlessly? Do they have backups? I just like thinking of how the whole thing comes together.
It's such a
to make the big picture.
Depth of thinking. Like I wouldn't have never thought about that.
So you've got to think of the smaller bits and pieces, the blocks, your starting blocks. Like, here's your block of clay. What are you going to do with it? I have no idea, but I've got a block of clay. Now I've got to think, do I want a theme? Do I want to make it based off of something I dislike? Something I do like? Am I going to give it away? What will that person like? Am I going to keep it? Okay, once you've established that, it's easier to put everything together once you've figured out hows and whys. And then you've got the wow when you've got the big picture finished.
Do you think your life's a bit like that? Putting it all together? How you've been putting it together with...
Bits and pieces of threads have been snipped and clicked together over the years to make the current be.
What do you think about that, Anne-Marie? Do you think that describes like Lexi having these kind of blocks and she's just putting it all together.
Not a she.
I know, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I said that.
Don't worry.
You know, I correct other people.
Yeah, I think Lex has definitely come a long way, and I just think Lex just continues to grow and evolve, and is definitely, like Lex said at the start, is probably, I feel, the best Lex has ever been, like mentally and physically, and just and like Lex just corrected you then. That in itself is just awesome. I just love that Lex will now correct people and just tell people, you know. That in itself was a journey, I think.
I only
Lex
correct.
coming out of, you know, the shell, and
I
you know.
only correct people when they actually want. When they actually want to learn, and I don't bother with people that are just like set on, this is what you're born as, this is what you are.
You've been diagnosed with autism recently, is that?
Since I was 14. I didn't know it until my sister started putting things together. I just thought I was an idiot. And that didn't help with Nicola. Nicola is the one that gave birth to me. I have ascended to a higher plane of existence with my emotional, mental attitude towards Nicola. I can actually say her name for one thing.
You didn't say her name last time. I remember you said the person who gave birth to me.
That woman. Yeah, now I can call her Nicola. It's just, I've reached a point where I'm just I can't be bothered with her. It's just too much energy, too much effort to hate someone or be terrified. It's like, you know what? It's just like, you know what? No, this person has taken too much from me. I'm just going to evolve and become a new Pokemon and just live my life.
Yeah, I mean, I can see you're so much more. Not that you weren't confident before, actually, because I felt like you were, to be honest. But you're even more so now, like just radiating some just beauty. Really, it's just.
I'm just really happy and proud of myself now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, back then I was more just trying to be confident, even though I didn't feel proud of myself or happy with myself. Now I'm just more in my own. Well, not in my own skin. I'm still not always happy with my body, but I'm more adapted to it now. I'm more, this is today, this is what I'm gonna do, and let's do it.
And you're liking yourself more, I feel. Is that? Yeah.
I do have my highs and lows, which in days where I'm just completely low functioning. But I'm a lot better than I used to be.
And so when are you going to finish your course and when you're going to be famous Lex?
I have no idea.
Fashion designer.
No idea. I'm not very good at thinking ahead, even though I like to do what am I going to do in 5 years, what am I going to do in 10 years, what am I going to do in 15, and so on. But even then, I'm not quite sure what I'm actually going to physically be doing in the present. So, and many of my teachers have told me just to focus on what I'm doing currently, not step by step, second by second, because I have unfortunately had the bad habit of literally looking into the future and panicking, which has caused many anxiety attacks. So it's best to focus on the present and doing what I'm doing one step at a time while having a future goal, but not focusing on that goal. Otherwise I'll start panicking and thinking, oh my god, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to make it, you're not good enough. Let's not have those nasty thoughts pop up.
That sounds like a really good strategy to me. Yeah.
Sometimes I fail at that strategy and sometimes I succeed.
And when you fail, what do you do?
And I tend to have a bit of a fit and start crying. So I usually have to stop what I'm doing and just leave because it's better if I just get away from the situation that's caused it, and then get back to it after the next time I have to do something.
So a couple of years ago, you were drawing Alice in Wonderland, and now you're reimagining it as a costume, and you're thinking about the practicalities of it and how you can get in and out of it, and so it's a different way.
I want to go through the musical theatre industry first, because that will be a good practice of going to places and also stressful situations. So if I don't ever be able to get to where I want to be, at least I've got other options and objectives in case I don't get to go to where I am. So like if I can't go into making costumes for musical theatre, I can try and get into making costumes for TV shows or movies. Or if that doesn't work out, try other options. I'm more focused on those two because I like thinking that the clothes create the character.
So look, that is just such an incredible story, an incredible journey, a really difficult and challenging one, but ultimately a really positive and optimistic one. It's really incredibly heartwarming to hear about what we've been up to supporting Lex over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and one thing that really resonated for me was it's almost like this just beautiful partnership that Lex and Anne-Marie have, and both of them are crediting each other's contribution to Lex doing the TAFE course. But to me, it felt like, well, maybe Lex wouldn't have been doing that course if it hadn't have been for both of them.
Right.
Like it needed both of them to make it happen.
Yeah, right. And you can also hear what Anne-Marie's got from the whole thing, and even Judith herself has taken something from this relationship, which is, you know, kind of the power of the relationship is really what we're all on about at Chorus.
Actually, I got quite sentimental when we did the first episode, when Anne-Marie talked about having complete faith that Lex would achieve her goals. That just got me, you know, back then and whenever I listened to it since. And so, yeah, to still hear that determination or that, you know, pride and faith that someone else, you know, will achieve something. And to have someone believe in you wholeheartedly is an amazing feeling.
We talk a lot about relationships at Chorus, both internally, so within the way the organisation works and aspires to work, and of course in terms of the relationship we have with customers and the community at large. It sort of seems to be stating the obvious, but somehow in today's world seems to be necessary to state that the fundamental building block of a good life is the quality of a relationship.
And we were talking a little bit earlier about what that, you know, relational means, and it's that, you know, a genuine you know, consideration or care for someone else, not just lip service or, you know, saying it because you have to. It's actually, you know, real human connection. Yeah,
that's right. And of course in work particularly, there are lots of other pressures, and we kind of slip into this mode. We've probably been programmed into a mode which is not any of those things somehow, and so just trying to find a way to create an environment which is natural and permits or even encourages just straight up honest authentic type relationships is great for how effective an organisation can be, but ultimately it changes people's lives. Another thing that came up for me out of that conversation was in relation to the concept of helping each other, and at Chorus we talk and I talk about not wanting to express the work we do as help, whether that's internal, you know, relationships or with customers, because help somehow has a sort of a power balance framing to it. And I was hearing someone the other day talking about the concept of rather than if you're here to help me, then there's not much we can really do together. But if you're here to find out where your path overlaps with mine, and we're on our own paths, but they overlap, then we can have a conversation. And, you know, it's a really different framing, particularly in, you know, the community service area, where you kind of things are defined in terms of need and want and vulnerability and help.
I like the paths crossing. That's really a nice analogy. It reminds me, Sean Nanup, when he spoke to us recently, talked about another simple kind of concept, just everyone is where they are right now, and just acknowledging and respecting that, and not needing to push anyone along a journey or understanding.
So 2 years ago we heard where Lex was,
Yep.
and that included, the big breakthrough was getting out of the house. And today we've heard where Lex has got to. Lex was where Lex was 2 years ago, and now Lex is there. Or Lex is here, right? So.
Yeah, it's great, and great to hear a couple of examples of Lex feeling more, I guess, confident and empowered to speak up, which is great. And perhaps if Anne-Marie had tried to push her along that journey, just wouldn't have worked. Yeah.
No. And this is just to talk briefly about Chorus for a second. We're really engaged in this vision of a fresh approach to community service, and the absolute starting point of the fresh approach is to work relationally, which sounds like jargon. It just means let's forget the transactional type relationships which tend to exist, or not, just transactional interactions that occur in service industries all the time, and say, no, let's not do that. Let's build a relationship. Let's work out where you are. Let's work out where I am. Find how our paths cross, and away we go. We believe that fresh approach can be done in the modern context, which in many ways pushes us away from that. And what we're engaged with now is, how do you build an organisation that just consistently, repeatedly and reliably does what we heard Anne-Marie has been doing: establish an authentic relationship and then find where the paths overlap.
And the world is all of our oysters.
This is absolutely right. So yeah, that's what we're on about. So yeah, it's just fantastic to hear of a story of optimism and inspiration, albeit a really challenging one, thanks to Judith and Anne-Marie and obviously Lex.
Yeah, great story, great to revisit.
Thanks for listening to Chorus Voices, the podcast brought to you by Chorus. If you like our show and wanted to know more, check out our website at chorus.org.au. And please leave a review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and it helps others find us and enjoy the podcast as well. Join us next time for more inspiring stories and news from our community. Chorus, a fresh approach to community service.